You ever met an artistic person or somebody who is captured in the arts and then all of a sudden they go to a play and it makes them feel something amazing and they come out so energized, so on and so forth? That's an artistic person and they got an emotional response from that. Here's another thing: if you study science, preferably psychology, so on and so forth, when it comes to the short and long term memory, if you want something to stay with somebody for a long time, you have to trigger an emotion that will go ahead and get it put into a different category outside of short term memory. This is why you need both emotion and logic. Yes, it makes sense, but how long will that sense last? If you remember, there was a TV show called Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And in the show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? They had adults compete against fifth graders, asking them very simple questions that were logical that they should have remembered over time. But because there was no emotion drawn towards it, 9 times out of 10, they would either get the question wrong or they forgot about it, so on and so forth. And you could see this within the show and the way the dynamics of the show play out. Now, if you combine the two, you get magic and connection. What do I mean by that? You ever seen a beautiful play? I'll put this right here for now. You ever seen a play, or, let's say, what's the famous play that came out? Um, Alexander Hamilton on Broadway. It's something that brought an emotion out of people. It not only educated them with logical facts that came from history, but the way the story was told made it a #1 Broadway hit. Now, because of that, that's where the magic and the connection came into place, because when people went to go see it, yes, the logical people were pulled in too, because they already had logic of history and proven fact, which is used in law, known as case law, meaning it's happened before, so they use history to defend something else. And then, of course, it had emotion because it had music, it had singing, it had dancing, it had costumes, it had people playing the parts that they were trying to depict to give a better understanding of the situation that they're trying to discuss while on stage. That's the magic and the beauty of art, and that's why the arts are so successful, especially when they do it well. The reason why the arts help out sciences is because sometimes the scientific people aren't very creative because they're heavy on the logical side. So if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it must be a duck, unless they were trained or educated by the arts to look at it a different way. So let's go forward, shall we? Now, what do I mean by when you combine these things, you get magic and a connection? Well, if you've seen any of my other videos, I talked about, is there magic and spirituality? Remember, that's the last part of this, right? So when you talk about magic and spirituality, you kind of pull in some of the artistic people because they could go ahead and kind of understand what's going on, whereas the scientific people want to take everything apart, not realizing that people use different terminologies for different things. If you remember, there was a video I did that I talked about electrons, neutrinos, and quarks, and how those all come together. But then in other spiritual teachings, such as Christianity, you have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And Alexander Dumas's literary works, you have the Three Musketeers and how they work together, so on and so forth. And then, of course, everything goes on and on and on, especially with different cultures, so on and so forth. Why is three so important? Well, it's the fundamental building blocks. And with 3 points of contact, you also know if you're a rock climber or you're climbing something, you need at least 3 points of contact to make sure you have a secure grip onto whatever it is that you're trying to climb. So it's very beneficial to understand that, and not only understand it, but make the connection so that it's logical for the scientific people.